Hi, so good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for taking the time out to attend this webinar series where we actually talk about network security. And of course, this is in collaboration with ITAS, and our guest vendor today is from Fortinet, right? So to kickstart this session, I just like to let everyone know that this session will be recorded. Thereof, once this session has ended, we will compile the recording and have the link sent to all of you for review. So first and foremost, um, this is just some of the administrative thing we'll go through throughout this session. You are free to actually click on the Q&A tab just on the top right corner of your Teams, right? And then you can actually ask the questions inside Teams as well. So what's going to happen is during the Q&A session, I will be reading out this question for the panel to address any of the concern that you have. Just to take note that the Q&A questions would also be tagged to your name. Hence, if there is any sensitivity to the question you want to ask, you may want to hold back first because there will also be a survey link that will be sent to you, and you are also able to ask the question through the survey link as well. Okay, mics for all attendees will be turned off. Like I say, recording will be available and will be sent to you after this session. So to kickstart this session, let us visit some statistics over here from a threat perspective, right? Of course, this statistics is typically towards the SMB and the SMC segment, right? It's also very much in line with where we are facing today from a cyber threat situation, right? So 43% data breaches on SME. Out of this 43%, only 61 reported at least one attack, minimally one attack. And what this constitutes is what I'm going to be sharing about this thing called attack surface in a while. And of course, I think the key statistics that we are looking at is about 83% of them are basically not financially prepared to recover. And of course, when attack or data breach like this happen, even for ransomware situation, the key concern here, while the data is stolen, yes, but from a return to operation point of view, the longer it takes, of course, that is also contributing to a lot more financial losses as well. So let's understand the why, right? Hackers today, they are not just somebody who is just trying to be funny, they are a syndicate, either, foreign officers, criminal groups that don't even know each other, but they each has a role, right? You can have a hacker that is a developer. You can also have a hacker that is very network driven. You can even have a hacker that is financially motivated. Some bankers, who knows where to sell data to in the black market. And of course, terrorists is also one of the key things here. So in order for them to be able to stage an attack, right? For sure, we know capability, they have it because they are a consortium themselves. The motivation is always going to be there. Otherwise, why would they want to risk exposing themselves to such a threat? And of course, one very key factor here is called opportunity. They will also need to have the right opportunity to launch the attack. And sadly for them, opportunity is something that you would have control over rather than the capability and the motivation part as well. So attack surface is what I talk about. And what it means by attack surface today is no longer hackers are using silo attacks to try and penetrate into the environment. They are using a lot of various threat vectors that comes in, and they will just pour into the funnel all at one go and hoping that at least one or two of them will go through for a data breach. And that we call a attack surface, right? And one of the key thing here that is relating to the hospitality industry is called the dark hotel. Although this first, I think for dark hotel, it's pretty new name for them. But in 2007 and 2006, there's really the first recorded cases like this where the hackers are intelligent enough to write certain signature code in which to lie to the hotel guests that this is an approved application by the hotel, right? So then, of course, the guests knowing that this is an approved application would basically download that malware or whatsoever threat there is that will cause a lot of problem for them. And I think Today, in relation to today's situation, if we will go to any of the hotels today, most of the menu can be downloaded through the web. This also form another risk avenue for them, whereby they would just assume that these are all approved applications that can be downloaded. We don't know when hackers gonna strike, for sure. But from an end user point of view, as the saying goes, right, data breaches, most of the common culprit or end users ourselves as well. Just some example of what I meant by something that you probably cannot control, or from an end user perspective cannot control, is for example Lazada, right? So there was this very common topic, even in a very famous hardware zone forum. There was talking about if you are surfing your web and you happen to chance upon a Lazada advertisement, without even the need to click into Lazada, your phone itself will automatically pop up and pop open the Lazada application. And if you don't have a Lazada application, they will open up either your App Store or your Play Store just so that you can download it. Now, such behavior is not volunteer. It's not voluntarily instigated by the user themselves. It is basically forced through. This, of course, became also another area of concern, which is relating to my next and last slide before I pass it on to Fortinet, is the fact that take Channel News Asia, for example, right? Of course, a lot of people know that the best revenue comes from advertising, right? So this is a legit website, that everybody, almost you and I, will surf almost every day. But what is shown here is the fact that they do take in. So user perspective is very simple. When you access particular website, you felt that it's safe. And when you have advertisement like this, you're basically downloading certain contents from the subway code, and that content is something that News Asia, if Channel News Asia can be very safe, that doesn't mean Subway would have the almost the same level of safety measure in place as well. So once you go inside Channel News Asia, and you see that there was an advertisement, and this time you choose to click in because you thought, oh, okay, this is from MediaCore, it is going to be very safe. But what typically came out was a sub web of MediaCore, and then the question again come back to whether JML, is it safe or not? So this is basically something that we have no control over, which is why a lot of responsibility from an ownership point of view falls within your shoulders. I know it's very heavy, which is why now we will probably invite Timmy Lamar. He's a solution consultant for Fortinet, to share with you in specific to your industry how well you can, take a second look at your security policy as well. Timmy, you can take over the slides, maybe give a little bit of introduction, and you can just steal the screen away.
Thank you, Benson. Very good session sharing that. I can rely on your sharing a little bit. All right, so let me quick share my screen if everyone can see my screen, right? All right. Okay, do pardon me if my voice a little bit cut off or anything. Benson, you can tell me if the voice is missing or something. All right.
Sure,
so
it's looking good. Yeah.
Cool. So my name is Timmy. All right, I'm the solution consulting engineer. In short, is SE. All right. Anything that about technical is basically me, and I'm covering about Singapore. And for now, I'm covering mostly about a specific account. Relate with my account manager, Kitty. Kitty also in this call, and I also supporting some of the white space account. So this is my current role. Prior to this, I was a little bit covering about 1 year long in the managed service industry. All right. And prior with that, also, I do support on the channel business with partner. So I've been in the Fortinet for 2+ years. All right. And before Fortinet, I do the privilege to have so-called SME for Palo Alto before, and I was from Westcon that time. Yeah, so that is about 5, 6 years back. Yeah, and maybe some of your account or some of the maybe we met before or something, and I was from the post sales, I was from the pre-sales, and it's everything in and out. So hopefully today's session that I want to sharing a little bit on in collaboration with Hitas and Chase Asia with Benson, right? So hopefully that our sharing in context of a Fortinet in hospitality vertical, it's mostly related to hospitality. Hopefully this is useful for you guys, and it's something that you can learn and move forward in your planning. All right. So I think there is a couple of things that Benson already mentioned about the attack surveys, about the landscape. I think in regard about the dark hotel, the APT, right, and so on about the landscape. All right. So this is what I'm gonna share is from the perspective from the Fortinet. All right. So we do have a threat intel team in the back end. All right. So all this information mostly we plug out from the threat intel or from the third party like a Ponemon survey, a research company, all right, a third party reporting and so on, right? So I do want to start with about 3 or 4 slides about a landscape, all right, about the attack surveys. All right. So after that, I'm going to address with how actually a Fortinet solution can address what actually the need in getting your security posture in place about cybersecurity, right? So if you guys are aware on this hospitality, I think you guys very familiar in this, right? New adoption, all right, a lot of new tools, a lot of new technologies, especially in IoT, about multi-cloud technology, about a new application, about new network devices. I think this is pop up and every day and in your day to day, and then new project, new things and everything, right? So, but don't forget, this is about attack surveys. The more things that you adopt, the more attack surveys that you want to secure. You need to minimize the risk. Then to minimize that risk, you basically have to know what is this device can do, what is this application can do, is this offering threats in your company and risk and everything, right? And to talk about a specific into the hospitality or even hotel, right? A booking, all right, a personal information is very important. Even way before the PDPA being launched, right? A lot of things issue with the personal information is very concerned. I think that is start with the GDPR in the past, and then move to the Asia side of the world that the PDPA is come in place. That to secure personal information is the very important context nowadays, right? So I don't want to go into all of these different kind of things. I think you know how actually the attack surveys, how actually is well and is a variation between all the different company, how they adopt it. But the main point of this is basically the growing of the attack surface itself, all right? And it's of course all the different challenges that I mentioned before, right? And also Benson already mentioned about the attack surface. It's I think the first thing on the list, everyone feel it literally nowadays. And this week, even last week, I feel it. The lunch is going up, the price is going up, everything inflation all going up, right? So cost reduction is always come to us. Yeah, hey, please, this project, can you reduce this, reduce that, reduce everything, right? So to company that have unlimited budget, I don't think there is. So there is no issue, but this is something is the top of the priority of the things to have something have a price compared to performance, which is a very adjustable and justifiable, right? So that is very important. And to have a certain way to get a visibility of your network, of your application, and even end-to-end into the cloud, right? That is basically how the cybersecurity start, right? Visibility is the first point that you need to get. I think it's just a reminder. I think you guys are well aware of it. And of course, this is related into how the operation it needs to be run as a day-to-day. is, I think, again, I have to bring up the lack of the resource. All right, hiring is very hard. It's even Fortinet hiring, even the whole world, my customer, everyone. Our meeting is always about, hey, I'm hiring. Very hard to get an engineer, very hard to get a person, and everything. It's not only Singapore, it's end to end across the region, even the whole world, right? So to get a small team to work operation in efficient is part of this concern, all right, to have the feasibility and operation in place, all right. And not forgetting about the user experience is important. Again, if you want to limit the context of security, getting or the most secure of the whole world, but your customer experience is bad, right? So that is not something that we want. To find a balance between user experience and find a balance between the security, all right. So that is in between what actually part the whole of the process. All right, so later I'm going to share a little bit how about my high level cybersecurity experience in the sense of tools, peoples, right, and process, right. So that later I will talk about more. And of course, to get all of this visibility and all the different kind of technology compliance is come into place so that it can be justified how actually all the investment being made, what actually the report come out, do we comply with the government regulation or your specific regulation or even the local origin relation on the reporting compliance, all right. So that is covering about the challenges. And what is interesting, this is about the, I think, many different way of attack, which is, I think Benson mentioned one of it on the Dark Hotel, all right? It's not only about getting the attack to be coming from external nowadays. In the past, I think it's only like, oh, I got these doors in this application. I need to remediate this. I have to swing over all of this and all those stuff, right? But nowadays it's more than that, all right. You see the kind of this on the percentage. Yes, there is a number of what our back-end team threat intel have a visibility. But one I want to highlight is the factor, the attack factor is not from external only. Now you have insider threats as well. You don't forget about phishing email that have to be clicked by the internal user, right? A lot of different kind of attack are coming on the DDoS into your membership portal, into your booking portal, into a lot of different way places, even SQL injection coming into your web server if it's not hardened enough, right? A lot of these different kind of from 1 to 10 in the sense of coming of multiple direction of the attack into the hospitality itself. All right, so this is about the industry. This is about the landscape and the attack. Of course, the last one I have to touch is about the impact. All right, once actually if there any breach, all this is actually the top down. You can see all the 5 is self-explanatory by itself. The bigger brand that you have, of course, the more impact that you can happen. Right, of course, it's affecting the revenue, the operation, and then what I want to interestingly highlight, okay, the line number 4 is also the part of this, it can impact into a certain physical life of our, meanings that there is some those attacks are basically related to like a building management, all right? So they can adjust a certain how actually it works, maybe like a building, like a lift, like a power plant, like even like a thermostat. They can control all this temperature, all here overheat the fan, everything. So there is a risk of it, that how actually not only operation itself, but also is risking into the physical safety of a certain staff, guests, or even the whole entire world in this case, right? So that is about it. All right, that is quite interesting, I believe, quite different from how actually maybe you hear from the other places. All right, and what I want to highlight is about that. And I think before that, I go into what is Fortinet, right? What is a Fortinet solution? I want to address today in the context of network security, right? But do let me touch a little bit. So I'm humble, okay, in front of you guys. I believe most of you, a security manager, CISO, and everything, all that you guys always are concerned about managing, balancing performance, risk, and everything, right? So I want to touch about this, that I always come out with the tools, people, and process, right? So these three more important things is related to day of you guys always have when you decide of things that you're doing, right? And I do want to highlight that in Fortinet, that what we have is mostly about tools, right? Our product, our solutions, that all the tools that we want to giving all the efficiency, the productivity, and how to enhance all your cybersecurity and security posture. And don't forget about the process, right? To have all the cyber security hygiene, the baseline of security of not configuring your firewall in any of course, right? So that is the context, basic hardening, all right? So that is a part of it in the process. And don't forget about people, because people is always important. People always make decisions, and people always do certain things that basically trigger something else, right? So in Fortinet, we do also train, all right, train people, give a brand awareness, and even we have a certain our founder, all right, Ken here in the US, that he have some kind of a promise or commit, right, to train more and more cybersecurity aware in the engineer or even the customer. So in the way of this enhance in the people, process, and the tools that we can elaborate more and more to be have in place. So your security hygiene is there, and then the risk that it can be minimized. All right. Back to the topic. All right. So what is Fortinet have? All right. So most of my customers sometimes is asking like, FortiGate, Timmy from FortiGate. No, we're not only selling FortiGate. We're not only selling firewalls. Yes, we are very famous of our firewall FortiGate. But let me do come into a high level picture. What we have as a vision, how we trigger, and how actually we launch a product in Fortinet, right? We have a platform approach, not a single point of a product approach. This approach is basically called security fabric, that come into a cybersecurity, that when we want to protect a customer like you guys, that we want to cover it not only from network, not only from cloud, not only from endpoint, but it's everywhere. That's why we have maybe a little bit more product than the rest of the world, right? We do about 50 product. And then what's the point of this approach, right? So that the coverage is it needs to be broad and widened. So in that sense of attack surface, whenever it happen, that we can have a visibility and we can do a certain enforcement. All right. And don't forget about the integration, all of these solutions, right? That comes from endpoint and access controls, or even the cloud security email and everything and so on, right? That we want it to be integrated and to make sure that all the collaboration happening, all right? And then the automations in efficiency of production, all right? Sorry, productivity definitely is very important. So this is basically the concept of the vision of from Fortinet. And if I can share a lot of this in the different pillar, you see the color of red, purple, blue. So it may take 4 hours, all right? So due to the limited times that I have, I want to focus on the red color, yeah? So the red color, which is in today's topic, is about security in a network security, right? I will do touch about it, that how actually it can be positioned in your infrastructure in our hospitality industry, all right? And how actually this it can be a increase, maybe widening a little bit. Maybe I will be a little bit out of topic for maybe SD-WAN, all right? Maybe SD branch, all right? So do bear with me a little bit on that context. So there is a 6 use case, all right? But my main focus is about 2, 3, 4, all right? So the first one is commonly, of course, there is an office, main office, headquarters, you call it data center. Yes, it can be consider one of the use case, all right? The second, all right, the number 2 is basically how actually the hotel location, hospitality location. I do deal with a lot of different vertical coming from enterprise, government, SME, up to the managed service. Now everything that basically I also deal with, like a restaurant, F&B, hospitality as well, hotel and even resort and so on and so forth, right? So this number 2 is basically very specific. Depends on how your business, all right, even retail, all right, even the restaurant in the hotel, all right. So that is also can be very specific. Number 3, all right, is very related to how a lot of these, of course, hospitality, about customer, right, about the guest coming, about the service, right. So having the good Wi-Fi, how actually the guest Wi-Fi, then how actually we integrate again back to the vision of the security fabric. Number 3, I will show you a little bit, or even the demo. I have a GUI. Hopefully that later I can show it to you how actually it can be single pane of glass managed. All right. Number 4, all right, when it's widened into the SD branch. Later, this is basically how. Sorry, hospitality branch is basically about the SD-WAN, all right? Number 4 is about the branches, the hotel locations, or even retail location or restaurant locations that go back into the headquarters of locations, all right? So that I will explain more on the later stage. And then the 5 and 6 is a bit deviant, yes, I know. And this is basically mostly addressing, if you hear Benson sharing about the dark hotel in the beginning, that is basically is an advanced threat, right? How actually it being treated with a mix of combination techniques, spear phishing, website defacing, and everything, that basically it becomes some kind of a legit. But how do we detect that? That is part of the ATP come in place. And the 6 is basically the cloud adoption. All right. Of course, you guys have all the different cloud workload, cloud application, everything. And I will highlight very, very lightly, maybe 2 minutes to talk about it. All right. So due to the time limited. So I will start off with the headquarters. All right, in the hospitality, in the headquarters is, I think, is back to the basics. All right, in relate into our network security, position as the perimeter. All right, position as the segmentations. A lot of different stuff, a lot of different setup, or even application hosted in the headquarters. Right, so we do have a lot of coverage in the context of cybersecurity as a whole, right? Well, but not limited only to the network security. I think you can see end-to-end about coming from network access control, even the web application security, and so on and so forth, all right? So I need more times to explain all end-to-end, but I think you get the idea how actually the whole process, the adoptions, and how actually the purpose into your environment, right? And if I may touch into straight to the point of the network security, yes, the product called FortiGate, yes, the FortiGate is very wide coverage, and the form factor is coming from the smallest of the desktop model into the biggest of chassis in the telco world. All right, so that is the FortiGate today, right? A different OS, a different update, the different features that it can be done in FortiGates, and I would say that due to my knowledge, right, from the past, from here, maybe what I learned and everything, FortiGate is very agile, all right? A lot of features, a lot of things that can be done with FortiGates, right? Of course, with the correct sizing, the correct OS, and then how actually it's being done and being tested, that is basically is very well. It's considered as the #1 in the whole world that is shipped off and being used by our customer in the worldwide, right? So in the context of course, network security, right? Coming from a next-gen firewall itself, what FortiGate can do, right? Coming from many different locations, depends on just now headquarters, or later I will share about the hotel locations. Of course, it can help all the different network segmentation, the visibility of application itself, and control it, right? The whole IPS, when you have the whole applications that is vulnerable, right? The IPS will come into place to secure it. Very important that related to your guest, okay? About the web filter, URL filter here. Don't forget about how user always going click here and there, going everywhere, and then how actually it's being verified, right? So this is very important always, and your antivirus definitely about signature-based protection about all the malware of the world, and sandboxing addressing about the 0-day, right? So that's very common, all right. But the whole NGFW, all the software licensing is basically based on all of these bundle, and then we do have a function, what we call about connectivity. All right. So when a user want to access a certain application that have a business critical impact, right? Let's say like a trading application, or in your case, maybe it's a booking apps, or maybe it's like a certain synchronization between location, right? So that is basically how the SD-WAN come in place. So I think you guys heard about SD-WAN, about, oh, I have multiple WAN. How do I want to have more efficiency, performance better, but I pay lesser, right? So yeah, the good news is SD-WAN is free. No, it's not free. It's included. All right, SD-WAN is included in the FortiGate, and SD-WAN is basically how actually the application application steering for the user when they want to reach the application. So later I will have a specific slide about the SD-WAN, and hopefully it's useful for you guys. So I would say, all right, in very, very proud that FortiGate is the only one in the Gartner, all right, is considered as a secure SD-WAN, the same box that basically is considered as a leader in the two of the quadrant, magic quadrant that you guys always hear. One is the WAN quadrant, and the other one is the firewall quadrant, all right? So that is a simple introduction about the network security context, about how is FortiGate can do. All right. Now about the position about this in your specific industry, right? But before going there, all right, do let me just explain a little bit about SD-WAN. What is SD-WAN and how actually Fortinet doing SD-WAN, right? Because maybe if you heard about the rest of the world doing SD-WAN, all right, mostly they are network company, right? And how actually they do is different from what Fortinet can do SD-WAN. All right. So if you imagine this as very short, very simple diagram, a user from the left on the branch office, you can imagine this as your hotel, right? One of your locations. That is basically once you access the applications. In the normal context of SD-WAN, the rest of the world, they will have like a certain kind of a hub and spoke. All right. But for FortiGate, is not needed. It's optional. It's not compulsory. All right. So if you guys have an application, certain application directly to the internet, you can always have an internet breakout from the branches itself, that you can secure it closer to the branches, all right? So your security is there, all right? And then the application SLA performance measuring, let's say you have a SLA performance, want to measure on latency, you can do it, all right? You want to have maybe a video conference that always have a zero packet loss, and maybe is the lowest latency of maybe 10 milliseconds. So that is basically can be measured, all right? And with the SD-WAN, then it will help you choose what is the best available WAN that connected, all right? Even is underlay or overlay, all right? So that is the gist of it, of the SD-WAN. And this is a simple way of how the FortiGate can do it. It do rely on the application signature as well, all right? So it do have SD-WAN rules that you can configure, which a user group, you can filter all like a security policy. in the context of I want this application or the IP of those destination applications, right? So I believe there is no vendor that manage or maintain Office 365 IP. I think they have a 700,000, if I'm not mistaken, up to today. That basically our backend will update it automatically to our FortiGate, and that input into this FortiGate, and then you can just choose Office 365. Destination is ISDB Office 365, and then it will be auto updated the IP destination in there. All right. And then to talk about your on-prem application, of course, you have a hosted on-prem, maybe your payroll, whatever web server, application server, they're hosted in your data center or even in the cloud, right? You can always have the same measurement, the same SLA performance maintained by the SD-WAN rules. And you may ask me, what is the WAN type that actually can be used in the FortiGate, right? It doesn't matter what is, as long as a layer 3, all right? It can be like the cheapest of the broadband, all right? If you want to adopt a Metro E, you want to adopt MPLS, so be it, it can be done, all right? As long as a layer 3 terminate, even to the most expensive, highest SLA, maybe a point-to-point, as long as layer 3. And even if you have a lower budget for the project, it have to be deployed somewhere. There is no cable can be deployed. You can choose LTE, because we have an option for the FortiGate that have a LTE 3G, 4G inbuilt in the box itself. All right, so there is those options. Or we do have a Forti extender, what we call a modem, all right? You guys call it modem. It's a 4G modem, 3G modem that it can be plugged into it and also can be centralized managed by the FortiGate. So in that sense, that SD-WAN is basically a part of the applications, delivery application, the best performance in the same box of the FortiGate itself, in the same firewall, all right? And I think there is a couple of things that I can mention about how about a low priority of application. Can I apply QoS on this SD-WAN? Yes, you can do that. You can QoS, you can lower the priority into a certain application that not business related, so social media, right? Or you want to apply this or my destination basically in the public cloud. Yes, you can do that as well. You can prioritize, you can have SLA performance into the public cloud instance. And in the sense of the whole picture of the SD-WAN, that's basically, we call it secure SD-WAN, because it's not only SD-WAN function, all of this can be done with the security inbuilt in there. The application control, the IPS, the AV, the APT, the sandboxing and everything is also can be done combined together. Just a quick idea, all right? I was mentioning that the hub and spoke is not necessary, right? In FortiGate context, yes. In a big scale, all right. I believe you guys are coming from a big hospitality groups that basically have a multi-location. So this is one of the options. I do have a lot of different kind of opportunity design, many location, multi-region. One is basically terminate into the Europe side, one into the China side, one into the Singapore side, and everything basically is where the application hosted. Mostly is a hub, right? And then that could be the aggregation point in the sense of the spokes, all right? The one below that you see that all the different kind of sites that you can basically, it comes from the smallest, maybe like a 15 users up to the couple thousand of users. That is basically, it can have all these functions, the secure SD-WAN that I mentioned, into this kind of a setup. So, of course, with the correct sizing, with the correct discussion that we have to deep dive, this is literally my day-to-day, all right? How actually this model and this box, how actually this connectivity, how the security being done, and so on and so forth. And that being said, all right, so coming from consistent security, all right, the important back to the process, right, the process that I was mentioning in the beginning, to have a consistent security, to have a security that actually applied in every edges, in every locations, that is very important. So FortiGate is a part of this in the context of extending the network in your hotel or in your branches, that can be said, right? So we do have a solution, what we call a AP, FortiAP, and FortiSwitch to help with your guys of the solution in the context of wired and wireless connectivity, which is it can be centralized, managed by the FortiGate as well. All right. So later I will show you a little bit of this look and feel. And then, of course, coming from the public cloud, all right, all the different kind of a common use public cloud, or even not common, Ali Cloud, Oracle Cloud, IBM Cloud, right? So some of those is basically, we do have a solution in related to the FortiGate network security part, or even the web security as well. All right. And don't forget about your data center, all right, whether it's your server room or whether you're hosted somewhere as colo. And it's basically this is the part of the consistent security across, right? With the central management that you can have efficient operations. And of course, with the centralized lock, then you can manage your SOC within your internal or your managed SOC, all right? I think I will skip this, all right, due to the limited of time. And back to the use case that I want to share, right, with the location. That is just now I was addressing about the SD-WAN, SD branch. So it's come to the network security on your hotel itself, right? So this is coming from, let's say it's like the perimeter. You can position the FortiGate as the perimeter before reaching on the internet, right? And then with the extension of our switches and AP, that is something that you can consider, all right, to be centralized, managed. And then the second use case, of course, of the segmentation, to have your guests to be in the isolation VLAN first, and then once they are basically authenticated into captive portal, they can be moved into the operation, or they just internet access into the VLAN. And then, of course, your back-end devices, your IoT devices, your all the different kind of connectivity network related that you can put into different segment. And of course, the rest of the other things like your operation purpose, that also can be put in place. We do have a NAC. We do have a FortiNAC, what it calls that this network access control is basically can help into more granular control on your BYOD devices. It can help control all the different kind of a device like a mobile, tablet, or even laptop when they basically connect into the wired or wireless on the infrastructure. So do allow me to share you a little bit on the GUI. All right. So if this is basically like your hotel, it's a small site maybe, and then you just have a small FortiGate, and if you have switches and AP, right, that basically this is something that you can see in the single pane of glass. So this is a OS7, all right, the FortiGate, and then you can basically in the single glance that how actually the AP is basically being managed by the FortiGate, whatever the configuration you want to change, all the SSID that you want to change, or even you want to configure a certain security segment, even captive portal that you want to do, all right? So that is something that it can be visible in a single pane of glass about all the user basically connected, and then how you want to do a certain diagnostic, right? About the performance, about the application, destination, and so on and so forth, right? So that is basically the beauty of a single pane of glass that can be seen in the FortiGate itself. So this is a appliance. This is a small FortiGate appliance. And if I may to show you a little bit on the switch, all right, it's also it basically just plug, and then it can be managed by the FortiGate. The same things that you can basically manage the VLAN. You can change the VLAN as just one click. You don't need to CLI and configure the whole things. And then all the rest of the visibility is in here. All right. So there is a quick glance through on this, just giving you the highlight of it. And then let me do quick time check. All right. Let me fasten a little bit. All right. So coming back to the rest of this use case, I think just now I was mentioning about the guest Wi-Fi. All right. About the guest Wi-Fi, how actually a single pane of glass managed by the FortiGates. and then the SD-WAN. All right. If you can see the chain location, it could be all the different kind of hotel, retail, restaurant, whatever that basically can be directly connect into the application in the cloud, or you want it to have those hub and spoke that I was showing just now. All right. So that it can be done in this sense that basically the security, the application performance, the user experience, also all those it can be set into a certain measurement. Okay, the two things that I want to touch very lightly, all right, so we do have this advanced threat protection in the sense, all right, in the way of network security just now on the FortiGate. Of course, the basic hygiene to allow what is necessary on the business application only, to have all the baseline of policy and all the security posture or even the hardening, right? That is basically the basic of the security. Advanced threat will be addressing when there is a traffic that basically being allowed, but there is still unknown things. It mostly covering about 1% or 2% of from the 99.05 whatever that it can be protected from the network security or endpoint, right? So in this case, that we do have a lot of different solution in like a sandbox, including with our back-end threat intel, even the deception technology. All right, UEBA for the insight, or even the WAF that is specific into the application. So that is something that we have in the APT context of hospitality. And when you guys have a certain, of course, you guys have with the adoption, with the cloud transformation, digital transformation, everything. So with the public clouds that we collaborate with, all right, we do have a lot of different kind of solution there. Of course, coming from network security of FortiGate in the cloud, all right. There is the perimeter setup, the segmentation setup, how complex it is with the transit gateway, with the application load balancer, even with the Azure, right? All those are different kind of a setup with the direct connect as well, right? So many different kind of a setup there, and how actually we have email security as well. We have a WAF position there. We have a CASB. We have a cloud workload protection as well in API basis to secure the EC2. So in this context, that it come as a vision back to the one just now I mentioned about security fabric. All right, I think that's all from me. I don't want to take more time anymore. Paise, I dragged too long, Benson. I think I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you. I think it is a very useful session here from an education point of view. I think the whole key objective here in today's webinar is also to equip as much knowledge to the IT folks in the hospitality side to further reinforce the security policy if need be, right? So I think now we come to the Q&A session. So I'm gonna show, just give me a moment. Okay, so just to recap, if you have any question, do feel free to click on the Q&A tab just on the top right corner of the Teams, and you can just type in your message. Again, I have to say that the questions that you type in will also be reflected under your own name. So if there is any sensitivity to the questions, fear not. The opportunity to ask the question is actually inside the survey link, in which I will send it to you separately tomorrow, whereby you can help me to fill in some survey, and if you require certain points to be addressed as well, you can also key in there. So all these questions will be kept in private as well. Okay, let's just maybe hang around for about a minute or two. If there is no other questions, then we believe we can wrap it up. So thanks, Timmy, for the insightful sessions. Although I understand that within the short span of 40 minutes, you may not be able to cover everything, but I hope that whatever that has been covered will allow the IT folks to make some informed decisions here on how to harden their security posture.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Okay. Okay. I think best due to the sensitivity nature of the industry itself, right? I think it's best that we leave the Q&A to the survey survey link that I will send it out soon. Okay. So thanks again, everybody, for taking the time out. A recording session will be sent to you, as well as the survey link as well. Okay. With that, I think we can close the session. So thanks to Fortinet team as well, and to the audience. Thanks for attending this session. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Thank you.